Reeves Immigration Law Group now brings you Immigration Law on Your Side.
Hello everyone, welcome to another Immigration Law on Your Side right here at PHLV Radio. Kuya Yo, galing po dito sa Las Vegas, Nevada, and si Atty. Diza na papanood nyo sa inyong screens, galing po sa San Francisco, California. Kita lang kami dito sa Las Vegas over the weekend para sa the Outstanding Filipino Awards. Congratulations, Atty. Flomy Diza. Kayo po ay pinarangalan bilang isa sa 100 most influential Filipinos in the world. Congratulations po, attorney.
Magandang gabi, Kuya Johan, at maraming salamat ulit. Of course, maraming salamat na rin. Hindi pa natin napasalamatan si Elton Lugay, siya yung organizer ng TOFA. It was an unforgettable night, nangyari sa atin, hindi lang awards, kundi also networking and meeting many of our kababayans who are trailblazers, mga innovators, mga professionals, organizers, and community leaders na across the United States and around the world, di ba? May galing din ng Pilipinas, may galing ng Dubai, di ba? It was the event was full of energy. Maraming salamat, Kuya Johan, during those 2 nights event. Nandun ka, di ba, as one of the co-hosts. Thank you for sharing your time sa TOFA. And of course, the event made us, Filipino, really proud sa ating roots, of course, ng resilience ng Filipino, and of course, our collective commitment sa excellence in the public service.
Congratulations once again, Attorney Flomy Diza from Reeves Immigration Law Group. Isa na kayo po sa 100 outstanding Filipinos in the entire world. Mga kababayan, sa panahong ito, pag-uusapan po natin sa ating Immigration Law on Your Side, understanding ICE raids, Immigration and Customs Enforcement raids, sa mga workplaces dito sa Amerika. Ano ang ibig sabihin nito? And how and what employers and workers need to know ngayong pong 2025. So, attorney, let's dive into the topic. What exactly is a workplace or worksite raid, attorney?
Yes, ang worksite raids is not only in the news but it's actually happening now. Marami tayong napapanood at napakinggan, hindi lang sa Hyundai sa Georgia, Kuya Johan, where there are hundreds of Koreans arrested at the workplace ng Hyundai battery. Ang worksite or workplace raid is when the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, yung ICE, enters business, right, to arrest yung mga employees that are not believed to be no valid work authorization. These actions often involve several government agencies, agents ng ICE or ng Homeland Security. And it can affect hindi lang hundreds but also thousands of workers, whether you're a green card holder or people with work permit or undocumented.
Ito namang mga raid na ito, attorney, this is nothing new, attorney. This has been going on as part of the law. So this has been going for a while. And bakit pinag-uusapan natin yung attorney? Why is it hot right now?
It is hot right now dahil maraming nangyayaring mga raids, hindi lang sa mga Home Depot, small businesses like Home Depot or care homes, restaurants, clinics, even hospitals, right? Because it's all over the news, Kuya Johan. But this ICE raids and sa workplaces are not new, as you mentioned. It's began in 1986 when they passed the Immigration Reform and Control Act, which made it illegal for employers to knowingly hire unauthorized workers. And of course, yung pagre-require ng I-9 to verify the identity at work authorization ng mga empleyado. But over time, different presidents use different approaches. Some focus on employers and others on employees. So when I started practicing in 2004, 2002, 2004, Kuya Johan, marami nangyayaring ganyan, di ba? Even during Obama's time, where people got scared, lalo-lalo mga kababayan natin nagtatrabaho sa healthcare, mga care homes, but also it happened again this time dahil nga sa priority ng administration in terms of the enforcement ng immigration.
So how does the Immigration and Customs Enforcement attorney, how does the ICE decide kung aling companies ang kanilang papasukin?
Well, when an employer asks us about, yung ICE raids or enforcement, what we tell them is there might be some reports, right, from the public or from the employees that there's a violation of the I-9, or they're hiring people with no valid work authorization. So it usually comes on a report, or if the employers also like file a petition for an alien worker, doon din nagtitrigger ng extreme vetting, where Immigration Homeland Security would look into the records of the employers, whether how many people are being employed, how many are undocumented, how many are being petitioned. So doon nag-uumpisa, Kuya Johan. Of course, kung meron silang suspect ng fraud, right? They have also a branch from the Homeland Security. Ang tawag sa kanila ay Homeland Security Investigation, right? It's part of the Immigration Custom Enforcement, where they have to investigate, and they go to places. Usually, they request the employer to provide, especially if there are petitions filed or pending, request for evidence around how many people, who are these people that you are petitioning and you are employing. In the past, many of our clients who are petitioning people are being investigated. Right, but they were legally petitioned because people are also in status, or people are outside the United States. So doon nag-umpisa, Kuya Johan, ng investigation or tips, di ba? May mga tips as we mentioned kanina, right? And then once they find out, then the ICE should issue a warrant.
Kailangan ba, attorney, ng ICE ng some sort of a warrant for them to be able to do these raids?
Yes, it's called a search warrant. They are parang yung warrant of arrest, where people are suspected of committing crimes, or there's a probable cause issued by a judge to issue that warrant of arrest for a person. Pero sa mga businesses, Kuya Yon, ang tawag dyan ay search warrant. Right? We always counsel or advise our kababayan, especially at this time, di ba, that don't open the door unless they can show you a search warrant or warrant of arrest, right? So, dalawang bagay yan, mga kababayan. Unang-una is yung criminal search warrant issued by a judge for suspected crimes, kagaya ng money laundering, or harboring a criminal, yung mga ganyan, yung mga criminal records. And the other one would be an administrative warrant. It's called administrative inspection warrant, used for civil immigration inspections, right? Importante dyan sa mga employers to look at that warrant kung ano yung description. Diba? Let's say they specify a certain business, and they should also specify, lalo kung malaking building yan, diba? O malaki ang business premises, which is specifically part of the business should be searched. So kailangan i-check nga ng husto para to make sure that these agents are within the bounds of what the search warrant that the SS issued.
So let's talk about who's affected, attorney, in these raids. Nabanggit nyo kanina that of course if certain employers are in violation of hiring those who are not allowed to work. So sino po ba ang apektado sa mga raid na ito? Sino ang pipick upin ng ICE? Yung employer, kasama din ba yung employee o pati yung employer?
Depends on sa kanilang focus, Kuya Johan. But with the current administration, we have heard many stories on the news from clients, from our colleagues from the American Immigration Lawyers Association. Ang affected dito mostly are employees, Kuya Johan. Kasi sila yung unang-una, they don't have the capacity to hire a good lawyer right away. Diba? Hindi kagaya na employer that they can invoke all their rights. Although ang mga employees, we counsel them to their constitutional right and everything, but mostly are employees kasi unang-una, aside from raiding and arresting them, right, they also put in removal proceedings. Hindi kagaya na employers na okay, if they arrest the employer, what they're gonna do is just pay the fine and penalty. Di ba? So, kumbaga, big fishes itong mga employees because as we have seen doon sa Hyundai raid sa Georgia, there are more than 400 people that get arrested and deported. Right? So, mga employees ang affected, mostly are, because especially titignan kung ano ang kanilang immigration status, whether they have work authorization or not. Pero may sitwasyon din, maraming sitwasyon, Kuya Johan, that you know, aside from the employees being detained, may mga employers din who are affected, lalo na mga small employers. I have seen clients from, you know, mga restaurant owners or care home owners where, especially if they knew that they are you know, hiring undocumented, where they were also in trouble. But mostly, we have seen more employees that are affected with these immigration raids.
Ayun. Attorney, in the middle of the chaos and confusion during raids, nakikita natin sa TV minsan nagtatakbuhan, yung mga ganun, ano? For those there in California, nakita natin sa TV yun. Can citizens or green card holders be caught up by mistake?
Well, that's really happening right now with unfortunately, right, it's all over the US. It's not just in California, but we have seen one also in Chicago where the National Guards are, you know, the ICE are, where people are confronting the ICE agents if they have a warrant, you know, instead of them providing a warrant, right, they get arrested for asking questions, and they were being charged of obstruction. So aside from being in the wrong place or at the wrong place at the wrong time, where ICE are conducting raids at nandun po kayo, kahit US citizen po kayo or green card holder, right? As you mentioned kanina, Kuya Johan, you know, they might still get you, especially if you don't bring your documents with you, or you're interfering, as they said, right, interfering with the enforcement ng immigration. So, yes, at maraming nangyayari ngayon, Kuya Johan, even not only US citizens or lawful permanent residents, but there are also government officials, elected officials that we hear in the news where they were arrested by ICE simply by asking whether they have search warrant or not.
Ayun. So is it advisable for our, especially ang kababayans natin who are green card holders or do those who have naturalized already as US citizens, is it advisable for them to be carrying some sort of documents?
It's always better to carry something, Kuya Johan. But I think as a US citizen, you know, or a lawful permanent resident, especially lawful permanent resident, we always advise our kababayan to carry proof of your status, or even with asylum applicants or adjustment of status applicants where they already were issued work authorization, because legally, once you have the work authorization, you are authorized to stay, right, until your application is being heard or adjudicated. But more so sa mga green card holders, right, and US citizens, definitely it's a good idea to have those evidence or proof of status handy when these things happen.
Maybe passport, ano, attorney, yung because there's also the small one, the passport card. You know, you can't be carrying the big one, so pero yung passport card probably would be a good idea, ano po, attorney?
Yes, that's what actually I bring when I travel, you know, locally within the US. Aside from my driver's license, I also bring that just in case, you know, you will be confronted about your status. At the same time, pag nawala yung isa, at least meron ka pang additional, especially traveling at this point in time, Kuya Johan, di ba? But also, yeah, that's really a good idea so that you don't really have to, you know, argue with the ICE officers in terms of your status.
Ayun. So, attorney, let's talk about the rights of our citizens, ang mga kababayan natin, especially during a raid. You know, if ICE shows up at your workplace, what should you do?
Yeah, it's scary sa mga kababayan natin, whether you are undocumented with a TIN, you have work authorization, you have a lawful permanent resident or US citizen. Unang-una po dyan is stay calm. Okay? Don't run. Pag tatakbo kayo, it can be seen as suspicious. I have heard many stories from clients where when they found out that ICE were coming, you know, they jump into the window, right, to the back door, right? I mean, those are the stories that actually happen, you know, Kuya Johan, just because, you know, they are afraid. They are afraid that they will be detained for no reason, even if they have work authorization, right? Pangalawa, Kuya Johan, especially if you're the owner, ask to see the warrant. They need a judicial warrant to enter private areas. And again, what we have seen right now, Kuya Johan, marami sa mga ICE agents, and that's why they are wearing masks. And I think because if one, and we always emphasize, right, our rights, constitutional right is guaranteed under the Constitution, that you have to have a warrant of arrest or search warrant to arrest someone or to search the premises. But it's also a good idea to see the warrant, because it's your right, you're entitled to it. Right? And then, of course, what we always emphasize sa mga kababayan natin is the right to remain silent, because otherwise, if you say something that will incriminate you, right, answer your questions, your status, etc., but don't lie, right? Do not sign any documents without talking to a lawyer, because those documents might be admission, right? Admission that you are out of status, admission that you're deportable, admission that you committed a crime, etc. And of course, very important, if these things happen, it's your right to call a lawyer if you are being arrested or detained, so that your lawyer can do something, especially if you are being detained and given the opportunity to a hearing.
Attorney, sa kaguluhan ng isang ICE raid, sometimes we hear in the news or mga kuro-kuro ng ating mga kababayan that there have been cases or some things that happened that they think that ICE went too far. Have there been cases of such things, Attorney?
Yes, there are many news that circulated on social media, right? That they were abused. The good thing about being a U.S. citizen, standing up, and defending people, right, is either they what do you call this? They use their phone, to record what's going on. I mean, just to determine the abuse, because it's hard at this point in time to who's telling the truth, right? Most of the news outlets would ask ICE or Homeland Security their side on the story, and most of the time they would tell you that they are interfering with the enforcement or the arrest, etc. They're harboring criminals, etc. But there are many situations that are unavoided, right? Just because it's the policy, and as we mentioned kanina, depende sa presidente kung anong priority. They are prioritizing to deport most undocumented, right? The violation of constitutional right, as we mentioned kanina, na walang search warrant or warrant or arrest, and also racial profiling because you look like an Asian or Hispanic, and of course the use of excessive force. Yung 2018, I think that's the time either of Obama or the Trump 1.0, right, where they assaulted, Hispanic during the raid, and the case ended in a class action settlement. But of course, ang advice ka natin, Kuya Johan, in this chaotic situation, if you think that you are right and you can know the consequence of your actions, as long as you are within the bounds of what you're doing, it's your right, to ask these questions, as long as you are not interfering, not being rude or the first one who would assault a law enforcement officer.
Be respectful, kumbaga, Attorney, and
yes, be respectful. Yeah, the thing, I was just watching a social media that was shared where a public official in where is this, Chicago, right, where she was asking if there is such one. I think they were in the hospital, right, picking up a alleged undocumented, and instead of answering the question, she got arrested, and she was saying, "I'm an elected official, I'm entitled to know," but she still got arrested. And that's all I'm saying. If you think that you can stand to your ground and defend yourself and know the consequence that you might get arrested, but somebody has to stand up, especially at this time where they're being mga ICE natin, they're doing their job. That's true, but the job should be within the bounds of the law.
That's right, Attorney. In all of these, what happens to the families of those who've been affected by itong mga raid na ito, Attorney?
Yeah, of course, ang unang-unang naapektuhan dito, mga kababayan, is of course yung families, because especially small kids, when they get home, kung wala na yung kanilang father, yung kanilang nanay, it's heartbreaking, right? Na hindi nila makita ang kanilang magulang. siyempre nagkakaroon ng mga trauma ang mga bata, right? Anxiety and even lower birth rates among babies born to mothers affected by rage. That's why it's really important sa mga kababayan natin to be prepared, right? Hindi naman lahat, apektado or subject to enforcement, but what we advise our kababayan is to be on the watch out all the time, and of course be informed of what's going on to your surroundings and be prepared if the time comes.
At that point, attorney, are they able, the family members, I mean, are they able to reach out to certain community resources, or maybe sa inyo, sa mga lawyers? At that point, is that the right time for them to reach out for help, attorney?
Yeah, it's not only when these things happening, right, that your family member get arrested. It's very important sa mga kababayan natin. I've been telling them from the start of the Trump administration to carry with you contact information, right? Contact information not only sa mga kamag-anak po ninyo, right? If you get arrested and detained, at least alam nyo not only the immediate relative but also your lawyer, local organization, your consulate. Consulate are very, very helpful. Where you're, especially if you are not still a U.S. citizen, what advice ang mga kababayan natin, hindi lang mga Filipino, Kuya Johan, I have plenty of other nationalities like Indian and only today Vietnamese, where there was a prior deportation order, but they cannot deport him in Vietnam because Vietnam does not accept deportees, in the 1990s, and it's been checking in with the ICE every year. So the last check-in, he was arrested, and I was counseling them, the family members, and they are very young. That is one of the children is just in the high school, and the eldest, I think, is first year college, where I was telling them that, since the dad had prior deportation order, especially now if the Vietnamese government will not accept, the deportees, so baka i-deport siya sa Africa or sa El Salvador or kung saan man, di ba? So it's scary that you are in another territory, another country that you never know the language, you never know the culture, wala kang kilala, etc. So I told them to reach out to the consulate because usually that's the purpose of the consulate, Kuya Yahan, di ba? That's why, each country put a consulate in a foreign country to help their nationals, and that should be important for mga kababayan natin to carry a contact information of the consulate, right, of their legal representative, the lawyer, the family, their friends, and also local organizations that the churches that are extending help. But to be honest, Kuya Johan, ang mga non-profit organizations are so overwhelmed at this point in time, and it's frustrating when client tells me that they cannot reach out to the non-profit and even the churches because of the many work that they do, especially at this time. But that's why you need to carry as many contact information as you can, so that if these things happen, right, this becomes handy.
Okay. Attorney, let's switch gears right now sa employer naman, what should the employers do to protect both their business and the workers?
Yes, that's a really good question, mga kababayan. But of course, aside from yung responsibility nila during the search warrant, di ba, or during the situation, pag nandun yung employer, right, it's really important for them to cooperate also, right? It's not something that they shut the ICE to come in, right, or forbid them to come in. So they need to cooperate, especially if there's a search warrant. But very important sa kanila, Kuya Johan, to look at and read the search warrant if what are being covered, right? The ICE can only access the authorized areas, as we mentioned kanina, right? And of course, it's important for them too to contact the immigration lawyer, because if the ICE will confiscate things that are not within the search warrant, then that's illegal, right? And of course, if they volunteer to surrender those documents, then there's already a self-incrimination, right? So it's really important, not just to cooperate, but to look at the warrant to make sure that the ICE would be within their boundaries, and more importantly, of course, to contact their lawyer. Now, dun sa mga employers, as you asked kanina, paano nila poprotektahan ang kanilang businesses and workers? Right, of course, very important, mga kababayan natin, to complete the Form I-9. Ito yung proper, the I-9 is a document where each employer, U.S. employer, are required to ask the employee to fill out, kasi nandun yung pangalan, tirahan, contact information, right? And important din sa I-9 would be the legal documents that would show, your ability to work legally in the U.S. So either your U.S. passport, your naturalization certificate, your birth certificate. If you are born in the U.S., your lawful permanent resident, yung green card mo, yung work authorization mo, which is unrestricted, di ba? So yun yung mga kailangan. And of course, titignan nila kung ito ba legit, right? So some employers would be very lenient. Of course, ito yung isang discussion ng iba, where people can easily get work because they use someone else's social security or identity, etc. So be careful, lalo na sa mga kababayan natin may-ari ng mga businesses. Aside from the I-9, mga kababayan, you have to also avoid discriminating based on appearance or accent, di ba? Lalo na bagong dating from the Philippines, for example, hindi masyadong marunong mag-English, don't discriminate them just because of their accent. They are already probably a lawful permanent resident, and then from time to time they have to hire or conduct an internal audits just to make sure na wala silang ma-miss doon sa kanilang workforce, ano ang kanilang hinahire, double check nila yon. And then importantly din sa mga business owners, trade managers, on how to respond to ICE visits, as we mentioned kanina, to make sure that these people, the ICE, have a search warrant, and make sure to identify which specifically part of the business premises are being searched. And of course, important sa kanila to consult with an immigration attorney before or during any investigation. I mean, some employers hire us to just look at their workforce documents, right? To make sure, identify kung there are red flags, and of course we advise and counsel them on how to fix it.
Yeah, because in many episodes that we've already had in this program, we've already discussed that some of those status will change eventually from time to time, no? So maganda siguro talagang from time to time merong audit, po, attorney, para walang ma-miss ang ating mga employers. So attorney, what happens when an employer knowingly hires an undocumented worker?
That's a good question, and I have asked this many times for clients who want to petition people here already who are overstayed. What I tell them is there's a law that prohibits hiring undocumented foreigner or people without work authorization. It's very clear under Immigration and Nationality Act, right? That hiring one without work permit would have a severe consequence, right? Hindi lang penalty, fines of thousands of dollars, but also this would be repeated pattern, is criminal charges and jail time. The goal is to make sure everyone in the workplace have both work authorization and allowed to work. Now, there are situations during the Obama time where especially those 245I, Kuya Johan, right? Nasa 245I sila, if they have Social Security, they still want to work and being petitioned, right? Which is fine because they are 245I eventually, is able to adjust. But hiring them in the guise of filing a petition na wala namang patutunguhan, especially at that point, diba? It's not just hiring undocumented, but also using the system to take advantage of someone else's status. And that's what I tell clients, that don't fall into this promise that your employer starts petitioning you, knowing that you are already overstayed your visa, as we mentioned in the past, where in employment-based cases you either be in a status as a student visa, H-1B, L-1, or any type of status in order for you to be able to adjust status in the future. Kasi otherwise, mga kababayan, if you're no longer in status and even employer promised you the heaven and earth, right, to file a petition, etc., it doesn't work unless there are other options like 245I or, doing a 601A waiver in the future, but this could be a separate discussion in the future. But, as we mentioned kanina, employers would face a penalty and a jail time if they hire people without work authorization.
Attorney, napag-usapan natin, for those who are just joining us, pinag-uusapan po natin itong mga ICE raids. Attorney, what happens now after a raid? We've seen that in the news fairly recently. Ano po ang kailangan gawin ng ating mga kababayan for those who've been affected by ICE raids?
Yeah, that's really a good question. As we mentioned sa mga know your rights, stay calm and be informed, right? It's really very important to be informed. We are not scaring people, not everyone would be subject to ICE raid. There might be some red flags already on your employer's records, right? Either they have filed petitions or there are tips or there are reports, etc., right? So hindi lahat. But what we advise our clients is to stay calm and be informed, right? Know your rights, especially if this happens, right? That ICE are coming to your workplace, or that they're conducting a search warrant. Just be prepared to show your status if you have one, right? As we mentioned kanina, of course, very important to know beforehand what are your rights. That's why we are doing this conversation para ma-advise ating mga kababayan, if these things happen. Also, contact a lawyer. Very important to know. Probably have with you the contact information on your phone, your immigration lawyer, so that you can contact them anytime these things happen. Also, yung mga natawag natin mga fixer or not fixer, but yung mga paralegals who are promising that they can do something for you. It's okay if they have done similar cases in the past and they were able to do it. Marami na din naman mga recognized and accredited paralegals. Kasi yung mga paralegals, Kuya Johan, they need to have a, register and accredited by Department of Justice, being endorsed by a lawyer. I have done many endorsement already for our paralegals and non-profits in order to help, filling out forms, etc. So, kailangan mga yon dapat accredited. But people who are not accredited, just try to avoid them kasi it will definitely hurt your case rather than helping you kapag sila po ang hinire ninyo.
And you and I have been involved in work with some non-profit and even the Philippine consulate. Nabanggit nyo kanina na our kababayans pwede silang dumulog sa ating konsulado or iba pang mga non-profits, especially sa kinaroroonan nyo dyan sa San Francisco. Attorney, I know you have been very active dyan po sa ating konsulado. Yung mga kababayan po ba natin ay may nakikita po ba kayong mga dumudulog sa ating konsulado hinggil po dito sa mga ICE raids na ito? Problemas, generally, Kuya Johan, problemas sa immigration, that's number one hot problems, common problems ngayon. Fortunately, so far at this time, Kuya Johan, there are few that we heard, not from the consulate, but from American Immigration Lawyers Association, where we share information, right? There were people that get involved in a raid situation. Unfortunately, sa mga kababayan natin that were involved have a legal status at this time. None of them that I know were being detained because of the worksite ICE raids at this time. There are bigger scenarios, as we mentioned kanina, what's happening nationwide, right? But of course, be prepared because these things are happening now, and of course, what's out and know your rights. That's really important before these things happen. All right. Mga kababayan, kayo po ay nanonood pa rin sa ating Immigration Law on Your Side. Kasama po natin si Attorney Flomy Diza. He is your calm voice amidst all of what's happening right now. Pinag-uusapan po natin ang mga ICE raids. Attorney, before I let you go, what is your final message para sa ating mga kababayan? Takeaway natin para sa kanila, Attorney.
We're talking about the ICE rates, mga kababayan. We've been talking about know your rights. Go over those rights again, right? And I know some people would tell me, it doesn't matter whether you invoke your rights, etc. The law enforcement don't care anyway. But we are still in a country that protects Constitution. Your constitutional rights. Document them if that thing happened and you're being affected. Hire a lawyer. It's your right to sue the government if there's a grave abuse. Of discretion, or there were unlawful acts. If they were fully documented, you have your rights. Very important yan. Now, your rights, of course, protect your family. And remember, being informed, is the first step to being safe. Kaya natin pinag-usapan ito. So, employers and workers can comply with the law while preserving the dignity and fairness in the workplace. So, yun ang advice natin sa mga kababayan natin. At maraming salamat ulit, Kuya Johan. I-inform natin that the Consulate, the Integrated Bar of the Philippines California Chapter continues to render free legal services every first Friday of the month. You can also email us about your questions, and also that's from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Isang update lang natin, kababayan. Alam ko, in the month of April, may mga nagtatanong sa atin about dual citizenship. Meron na naman ito. I think it's an AI-generated video reel where President Trump was saying, he's no longer accepting or, yung sa dual citizenship, right? Whether you renounce your citizenship, otherwise, etc. These things happen, and we emphasize sa mga kababayan natin, don't share those information, right? It's a good thing that you ask a lawyer, as people, and simple searching the internet too, right? Is this true or something? And it show up that it's not even in the news, right? So make sure to either go to the website directly to immigration, the embassy, or the consulate, or an immigration lawyer. And again, maraming salamat ulit, Kuya Johan, at malapit na ang Pasko. So, November na next time na magkita tayo.
Maraming salamat, Attorney Diza, via Zoom from San Francisco, California. And it was a pleasure seeing you over the weekend here in Las Vegas para sa ating TOFA celebration of your award. Maraming salamat po, Attorney. You can contact mga kababayan si Attorney Diza. Nakikita po nyo sa screen ang kanyang contact information para po naman sa iba pang mga katanungan. Okay, i-comment lamang po sa baba sa ating feed na ito. Attorney Diza, maraming salamat once again from all of us here in Las Vegas sa PHLV Radio. Congratulations once again on your award.
Maraming salamat ulit, Kuya Johan, at mabuhay.
Mabuhay ka, Attorney. Mga kababayan from Las Vegas, Nevada, ito po si Kuya Johan ng PHLV Radio. Maraming salamat po, and we will see you again next time.
Reeves Immigration Law Group has just brought you Immigration Law on Your Side. Wednesdays, 7 p.m. Pacific on PHLV Radio.
Reeves Immigration Law Group has been representing immigrants for nearly 40 years. Reeves Immigration Law Group has been fighting for its clients through experience and expertise. With immigration lawyers you can access at reasonable fees, even on Saturday. Payment plans are also available. Call us for your immigration solutions. We can do worldwide telephone and Skype consultations. Reeves Immigration Law Group, 1-800-795-8009. Reeves Immigration Law Group has offices in Los Angeles, San Francisco, China, and Philippines. See us at www.rreeves.com. Reeves Immigration Law Group, 1-800-795-8009.